Welcome to the Motivated Martial Arts Podcast. Your hosts, Jackson White and Gavin Cook, have been friends and TaeKwonDo training partners for over 40 years. This podcast will bring you a mixture of their life stories, martial arts, and business experiences to motivate you in life and throughout your martial arts journey. Adding in a mixture of inspiring interviews and some of the best traditional martial artists around today. So over to your hosts, the Motivated Martial Artists.
Welcome to the Motivated Martial Artists Podcast with me, Gavin Cook.
And me, Jackson White.
And this evening we've got Kieran Sullivan joining us all the way from the Valleys. And Kieran's one of our young upcoming TAGB fighters. We're excited to understand his story. So thanks for coming on this evening, Kieran.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
No problem.
I think Gavin's done you a bit of injustice there because you're not up and coming now. You're on the scene, aren't you? You've blown onto the scene on the one of the last competitions. Now, all I've seen over Facebook over the last month is your foot engaging with everybody's head from all sorts of angles. So yeah, up and coming or burst onto the scene, probably both.
Thank you. Too kind.
Well, the pictures and videos speak for themselves, so which is good. But we want to find out a little bit more about you this evening, then, Kieran, and what it takes, to explode onto the scene. Because I can imagine it doesn't just happen. There's a lot of training. There's a lot of effort behind it, and we want to hear all about it this evening. So what I'm going to do is ask you the first question. Really, just give us a little bit of a background about yourself, where you grew up, schooling, because you're probably still at school or in schooling or in education. And ultimately, how you got into martial arts?
Right. So I was born in Newport, and I grew up in a village called Keiren.
Okay.
Went to Keiren Comprehensive School. I'm now studying in Nottingham Trent University. I'm doing law with business. The way I got into martial arts. So when I was 4. I did karate for a couple of months because my older brother, Kieran Sullivan, who also used to be on the Welsh team, he was a black belt in karate. And he wanted to start, competing a bit more. So then we heard about Pontypool and Cymran TaeKwonDo. At the time it was Torfaen with Master Sullivan.
Okay,
So we started going there. I also think another thing that helped was with an older brother. He was always watching the Power Rangers, the Ninja Turtles, and I wanted to be a Power Ranger when I grew up.
Who's your favourite colour? Who's your favourite colour, Kieran?
Red Power Ranger.
Red? Oh, come on. It's always green, isn't it?
Nah, it's the red one. It's always the red one. It's the leader.
Fair enough. Yeah, good. So do you remember? So you started your karate. You went to your TaeKwonDo. What did you think? Can you remember back to that first TaeKwonDo lesson? What did you think about that?
I remember I enjoyed it. Also, I trained a lot when I was younger. Like my mum and dad, they'd take me everywhere. I'd be doing TaeKwonDo Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Right. Okay.
From a young age. So, and I always had people in the club to look up to as well.
Mm-hmm.
I had my brother, but then I also had obviously Cal Betty.
Yeah.
Cal Betty's brother Ryan. I had the Jacksons like Matthew and Ben.
Mm-hmm.
James Powell. It was a lot of people. It was a really competitive club, and I think going and just seeing that, it really pushed me, and it helped with me being into it so much.
What was so I'm interested though, Kieran. So what was your sort of parents' motivation then to obviously to get you in at such an early age, and obviously when you're that age, it's not really down to you; it's down to your parents taking you, traveling you, bringing you. What was their sort of motivation behind that? Do you know?
Yeah, so I think it's sort of so my brother's friend done martial arts, and my dad's always wanted us to be able to look after ourselves, so he's pushing for us to do it, and then obviously because I've got an older brother, 5 years older than me, it's sort of like I was sort of pushed into doing it with him, and I think because we enjoyed it, and it also helps with my dad taking us. He enjoyed watching us do it, so
okay, yeah,
that really helped with pushing him to continue taking us places.
So, you say you enjoyed it. What was it that you enjoyed? Was it the physical side? Was it the instructor? Obviously, probably a combination of things, but what was the couple of things that stick out in your mind?
Yeah,
What really made you enjoy it?
So I enjoy like challenging myself, like physically challenging myself with exercise. I always have. And then obviously I love the way that Master Taliban and his wife Rita Levan used to take the lessons, and I enjoyed it because they were quite strict with it when I was younger, and it really helped me, and they get me doing things, and then like I can see how I was getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing progress sort of made me love it more, because then like, I want to make more progress.
Sure.
Keep going.
This is it, isn't it? I mean, you're probably the same as a lot of other kids. You go through those peaks and troughs where one minute you really enjoy it, the next minute you hate it, and then you enjoy it again. And once you start seeing yourself getting good, or even you start feeling yourself starting to get good at this, that's when it starts to become really more enjoyable, doesn't it? Because you can really start to see that progress coming through.
Yeah, 100%. It also helped. I had a good group of mates there, good friends. Obviously, me and Milo Van started around the same time. Had a couple of other people the same age as us that came through with us. Yeah. So I think
it's a big part of it, isn't it? It's a big part of it, having some good close friends in the club with you, especially when you're a kid, because there's times where you lose interest in the sport, but then having your friends keeps you going, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's like I go there, I spend time with them, sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I don't know if you know, me and Gavin have known each other from the age of 8 years old, and that was only through TaeKwonDo. And now look at us. Gav's nearly 60.
Yeah,
we're still friends.
I feel like I'm 60 sometimes. I feel like I'm 60 today. I just did a black belt session with Grandmaster Walton, and it's just absolutely killed me. And it's fine doing it. It was just the walk to the car park after.
It's afterwards.
It's a good job I got heated seats for my lower back.
Yeah, no, and some of the things were, I used to travel from Coventry to Daventry, which is about a 45-minute journey just to go training. And although I love training, I actually love seeing my mates just as much. So like Gavin said, and those combination of things, when sometimes you're a bit fed up with TaeKwonDo, you go and see your mates. When you fall out with your mates, you've still got your TaeKwonDo, so you go there, you repair those relationships. And like I say, me and Gavin, we're here 40 years later. Just a scary thought, yeah.
Yeah.
So can you remember back to your first grading, Kieran?
No, my first grading, I would have been just 5.
Yeah.
And it would have been in 2006. Yeah, it was the same year as my first tournament. I remember my first tournament quite well because obviously I've seen the photos of it, and funnily enough, my first tournament was the British Championships in Nottingham.
Okay, yeah.
We're now studying for university, and I remember I got 3rd place, I think, in the sparring. So it was the first medal I ever won as well.
Yeah, good. And so just go back to the grading bit, because we'll come on to the tournament stuff in a minute. What's the first grading you can remember?
I think it would have been my yellow belt or green tag grading, and I remember I never liked learning all the Korean. That was
who does? Nobody likes learning the Korean, do they?
The worst bit. What's the interpretation of dangun then?
Don't ask.
Yeah. I bet Gavin doesn't know that, do you?
Everyone knows dangun. That's the easy one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's when you start throwing some of the chung guns and the toigays in there that everyone starts struggling.
So go on. Sorry. Back to you're not liking your Korean. Did you get in trouble for not knowing it?
No, because to be fair, the people they'd have us asking the questions at the grading, it was really friendly. So it's like, what's belt in Korean? They'd be like pointing at tie, and they'd be doing things to make sure you get it right. Especially as I was young.
Yeah.
You coached along, aren't you? You coached along at that age, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Did you ever fail a grading?
No, I've never failed.
Did you ever think you were going to fail a grading?
Not that I think. No, I always got my patterns right. Always done my line work right. So I was always
You always came out relatively confident. You always just got to wait for that nod, haven't you? Nod of reassurance, just to know for sure. Yeah. Okay, then. So just prior to the first competition, do you remember the first time you ever put your sparring gear on?
I don't remember it. I've seen photos of it and how funny it looks, because
It looked like one of them little Daleks there.
Like this. Some tiny compared to the gear. But no, I don't remember too much from when I was that age in terms of like the gradings and the putting the gear on. I remember I used to every morning I'd wake up for school and I'd do hop and side kicks across the landing, down the stairs, go have breakfast, do hop and side kicks up and down the stairs constantly. I'd do my mum and dad's head in. You know, they're constantly moaning because you just hear bang, 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 bang. So I go down every step.
It's the way to get perfected, though, isn't it?
Yes.
So I used to drive my parents insane with that sort of stuff. I used to go into the living room, move all the tables, chairs, take the ornaments off the fireplace, and just do reverse turning kicks after reverse turning kicks after reverse turning kicks, or kicking all the time. But at the end of the day, that's repetition, isn't it? That's the foundation of any martial art. You know, once you, especially as a kid, when you're doing it over and over and over again.
Yes, it's the
stuff
condition.
Stuff that you learn as a kid sticks with you, doesn't it?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, 100%. And it was one of the things that I was always pushed to do. Is so I'd hold onto a wall, do a side kick, low, middle, high, and I'd hold it for 10 seconds each one. You know, and it's really just conditioning my legs from a young age. And obviously, it's worked.
Yeah. Well, I saw.
It's obviously paid dividend.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of you when you was a youngster, Kieran, with the best grader award. Can you remember that one?
Yes, I do remember that one. It's basically I was told that I didn't get it before the tournament. I was told, you didn't get it and stuff like that. And obviously I was a little bit disappointed because obviously I saw Maya Levan, who done the grading the year before me. She got it, so I was sort of like, I want to get it as well now. And I was just before they announced it, I was going to the toilet actually, and then my dad said, "Oh, do you want to just see who got it? You know, like who beat you out with it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I sit down. I don't think I could have sat any further away from Grandmaster Oliver when they were announcing it, and all of a sudden I heard my name, and I didn't know what was going on. I did not have a clue what was happening.
How long did it take to walk up and go and collect it then?
It's too long. It took too long.
So, let's talk then. You mentioned you got your third, and you were a yellow belt. Did you say?
Sorry.
First competition.
Yeah.
The yellow belt. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you actually win your first division, and what was it?
So my first division, I think I would have been about a green tag, and it would have been in the sparring.
Mm-hmm.
Pee-wees.
Sorry?
Pee-wees, juniors, or lightweight?
Tiny tots. It would have been tiny tots.
Tiny tots. Okay, okay.
And what year was that in, Kieran?
2008 maybe.
God, okay. I've probably seen you running around with your headgear on, looking like a little Dalek.
Well, I always used to have a little sticker on the back of my headgear
With Keiren on it.
I'd always have the Welsh flag, so you could always
tell. Okay.
Just so your parents could see you from the bleachers. Yeah, there he is. There he is. That's our boy winning again. Can you remember how that felt? Can you remember that feeling of winning your first competition? I know. I can still remember how it felt for me back in 12. I think I was 12 when I won my first competition. So I don't even want to recall how many years ago that was, to be honest.
And I just remember being, like ecstatic. you know, because obviously I've been training for a fair amount of time, and I've seen other people winning, you know, other people in my club. A lot of the older people, I've seen my older brother winning. I was sort of there like, I want to win, you know, I want to be the one that wins. And then I won it, and I just remember, like, I had my smile. I was beaming for at least a good 2 weeks. I took my trophy into school. I was showing all my friends and all the teachers and everything. We do a little assembly about how I won. And that's
do a show and tell.
Exactly, yeah. And be a show and tell after every competition then.
Yeah. So, and did that give you the bug there? Do you feel as though that gave you the bug to keep going, keep competing? Because a lot of kids, you know, they go in competitions, you know, they maybe win one or they lose a couple, then they give up, and then they can't really be bothered with competitions. I know, you know, I think most clubs are the same. You know, there's only a small percentage of most clubs that really want to compete. You know, a lot of people like sparring in the club, they like doing their patterns, they like just being good club people. But there's not that many, is there, that take it seriously and really want to keep competing. You know, do you think that was the sort of fuse that sort of set you on your journey?
Yeah, I do think it really helped. Alongside the fact is that I've always been extremely competitive, like from a young age, because I want to be the best at everything I do. And it's sort of like, if I don't win, I have to win next time. You know, I've got to do better than how I done the time before. And if I do win, it's like, well, next time I've got to win by more. You know, and that mentality has really stuck with me, and that's still exactly how I feel today with it all.
Okay, do you think that was something that was bred in to you by your parents, or do you think that was more of a, you know, something that you was born with? You think that's like a natural thing for you?
I don't know. I do think it came natural, but I think obviously my parents really did help with it, and being in the club with, you know, Master Sullivan really did help, because he's extremely competitive as well, and, you know, wants the club to be the best club, so everyone in the club's got to be the best, you know, and it really helped. It really helped push me.
So fast forward then. So, you know, we looked at a little bit. I mean, I'll say we looked a little bit about your journey as a youngster, but you are still a youngster. So fast forward to sort of the last 2 or 3 years then, when you've really been sort of fighting at quite a high level. How did that come about? Did you start going squad training and then get picked, and then you know, what was the sort of journey, I suppose, the last sort of 3 to 5 years for you, really?
So I've been going to the Welsh squad sessions since I was about 12, 13.
Okay.
And I think it's just trying to remain consistent with it, and it's making sure setbacks don't stick. You know, and the biggest setback I had with TaeKwonDo was 6 years ago, where I was having seizures, and they diagnosed me. Well, they thought I had epilepsy, but then I had an MRI scan, and it turned out I had a benign brain tumor.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was the year at the World Championships in Roana, because I had surgery about 3-4 weeks before we went, about 3 weeks. And I had the tumor removed, and we didn't know whether I was going to be able to, you know, continue with TaeKwonDo.
Sure. Yeah.
At that point, I was doing boxing alongside my TaeKwonDo, and I had to stop that because they wouldn't give me a license, because you need your parents' permission, and they were not going to give me it.
Sure.
And so I had 10 months where I wasn't competing. I did continue training. In fact, I went to Roana and I done my pattern. I also couldn't spar. I didn't spar then until December. In that was in
sure.
It was a long time, you know. So that was pretty tough, and I sort of feel like, you know, I just got to remain consistent with it now. And
So I'm interested in Kieran, obviously. I mean, these sort of setbacks. I mean, it's a big challenge mentally, isn't it? How did you obviously physically you had to rest up, I'm guessing, but mentally, when you're a youngster and you've got lots of energy and you want to get out there and you want to keep competing, how did you deal with that? How did you sort of, get through those times? What was sort of your goal, I suppose?
So I was desperate to get back at it. And it was one of the first things I asked when they told me that I needed to have the surgery. I was like, would I be able to continue with TaeKwonDo? And then they were sort of like, it's something that'd have to be reviewed.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But I sort of held on to it's not impossible. They've said, they have to check it out. And I was sort of there, and I just set myself the goal. It was like 2 weeks after the surgery, I was back training in the club. Obviously not sparring, just doing my pattern, doing my line work, doing some pads. And it was just sticking to it. And I think TaeKwonDo helped a lot with what I went through, because it was something I had. But around that time, my parents were definitely really, scared and worried.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I was sort of like, I was young, so I'm like, no, I'll be fine. It's not that big of a deal. And I think by thinking like that, it really helped me get through it. And so I ended up doing other sports. So I ended up getting a gym membership to the local gym, and I was going down there because I was like, if I can't do taekwondo, I still want to do something that's physically demanding on my body. And so it was really just sort of taking my mind off of it by continuing to do things that I was doing before, or things that I wasn't doing before, but still, going to physically make me better.
Yeah. Well, it's you're obviously a brave kid. I was always 12. Was it 12? Were you 12 years old? Like 12, 13?
6. I would have been 14.
I thought, okay, yeah, but it's still a challenging time, isn't it? You've got GCSEs to think about, you've got schoolwork as well, you've got all that stuff, all that pressure on you, then you've got obviously your taekwondo. Then something like that happens. It sounds like taekwondo. It's amazing how taekwondo, not just taekwondo, but any form of martial arts can work as a therapy, can't it? It really gives you something to focus on, because you can always make improvements, can't you? Whether it's your pattern or your line work or your kick. I mean, you can spend hours just perfecting a side kick, couldn't you? And I suppose to have that, have some sort of something to focus on other than thinking about what you've just been through.
Yeah, it really helps, because it just pushes you through it, and you don't think about it. And it's the moment when you think about it too much that it becomes an issue.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, bloody hell, it's a difficult time. But I suppose as well, having come through that now, when you had the possibility of doing something you loved all your life, I suppose that can really focus you and drive you on at the same time.
Yeah, because I'm sort of there now. Like, the way I see it is, I had something happen that could have stopped me doing this for good, but it didn't. Yeah. And for that reason, I sort of have this mentality. I'm like, I have to stick to it. I have to keep doing it, and I want to keep doing it. So it's really helped in that sense. Although it was obviously something that I'd much prefer to have not had to go through.
Sure, of course, yeah. But it's I suppose it's one of those things. Adversity. Adversity focuses you, and it can set you new goals, and it can make you appreciate what you've got. Like yourself, I've done taekwondo since I was 4 years old, and there's been times where I just think, I can't be bothered. I'd turn up for squad training, and I'd be there, I'd be working hard, but it's just that little bit of something missing. And I remember I was injured in 2000 and I can't even remember 2015, and I thought that was it. I'd never fight again, and that just spurred me on up to another level. So I totally get that. It just gives you that little something extra, doesn't it? That extra edge.
Yeah, it really does, because it's like, I'm not gonna give up this chance to do it now.
Yeah.
You know?
So when you're sparring then now, Kieran, I'm guessing in the back of your mind is there a little bit of a worry about getting hit in the head, or is there any sort of element of that, or is that gone now? You just totally over it and you just out to smash people up now?
I'm totally over it. It's my parents that worry, you know.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm fine. They fixed me up.
But you're young. You got no fear when you're young, have you? I took my eldest son Harry went for his 16th birthday. He wanted to go skydiving, and so we got him a ticket. And I said, well, if you're going to do it, I'll do it with you. You know, and it didn't. I had no fear for me really. I was thinking, well, I'm 46. If I croak it, I croak it. But you know, my fear was for the young. You know, for him. You know, watching him jump out of a plane, me about to go after, thinking, oh Jesus. And after I said, you know, weren't you scared? And he said, no, it's totally safe up there. You know, but you got no fear of it. Got totally no fear.
Yes. You're just focused on doing what you want to do. That you don't think about some of the issues that it may or may not cause.
Yeah, that's just being a youngster, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think as you get older, you maybe start analysing things a little bit too much when you get older. So jumping straight. So from that, then, so you've gone. So obviously you've overcome this injury. You've been squad training. You're determined to start fighting. What happened then? You know, did you what was your biggest win leading up to where you are now?
Well, so I got put on the team when I was 17. So it would have been 2018 for the World Championships. And I think
I did. Where did we fight? I can't remember where we went. Was it Croatia? Were you fighting in Croatia?
I did. That was 2019.
That's right. Yeah.
That was 2019. So
how old are you then? I think you're only about 15 then, weren't you? 15, 16 maybe?
2019, I would have been 18.
Yeah. Okay.
So so I was picked as the Welsh team captain when I was 17, and obviously that was a big thing. So I never really expected it. As I was like, that was going to be my goal later on when I've been in the men's division a bit. But at this point, I hadn't even competed in men's yet. So I fought at welterweight at that tournament, and just for the team to actually have won the first fight, I was ecstatic. You know, I was representing my country at the World Championships.
Yeah.
And then I just continued training, and I continued going to the gym every day. Ended up putting on some weight, so I ended up moving up to middleweight.
That's how it starts, Kieran. Before you know it, you'll be a heavyweight.
I was for a bit. So I had my first men's tournament. It was a few days after my 18th birthday. It was the English Championships, and it was men's middleweight. It's my first individuals and men's. So I won gold there, and then Croatia was about a month or two later. I won both the point start and the continuous in the middleweight division there, and then obviously represented Wales again and got disqualified in final by you.
Hang on. Clear that up. You got disqualified by me. You got disqualified by you. I just implement the rules.
Okay.
Was it excessive contact?
No, it wasn't. No, they had a strange rule, didn't they? Where if you went out the area 3 times, you were minus points, and you were only allowed a maximum of 10 minus points, weren't you?
Yeah. It was interesting rules. But...
Yeah.
So
I didn't disqualify you. You disqualified yourself.
No teacher. To
be fair, it was contentious. So I thought in that fight you were actually winning, but you were knackered, and the guy just kept pushing you out the square, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah. That was.
So it's your fitness that let you down. Then is what you're saying.
It is. It's what it is, I suppose.
Actually, I thought you on that night you were winning on points wise. Like I say, he managed to win the fight by using the rules, I suppose.
Yeah, but that's just how it is, and just made sure I'd come back stronger at the next tournament. There's my mentality, and then like, well, I got to do better the next one. And then it was the BTC, and I ended up getting 3 golds at the BTC then. One pattern, sparring, and the tag team with 2 of the other Welsh boys. So that was really good. And then COVID obviously hit.
Yeah.
Not long after. It was a real shame because I was supposed to be going to Spain with the British team.
Mm-hmm.
But
So what did you do over the COVID then to keep yourself, sort of keep yourself fit and keep yourself sharp, I suppose?
So I've got one of the like the Bob dummies. So
they're great, aren't they? They are great.
Really good, yeah. So obviously I was beating that up quite a bit, and I sort of converted the conservatory into my own little gym, much to my mum and dad's dismay.
Yeah. So how do your parents feel like that? You know, this rattan furniture is just going to go outside for a little bit for 2 years.
So I was training a lot during COVID with that, but particularly the weights. I couldn't really do too much TaeKwonDo because the Zoom calls. I did not like going on Zoom doing TaeKwonDo because
it's not for everyone, is it?
So
yeah, I think it's hard teaching it, and it's hard for students because there's just no interaction, is there? It's just
it's really tough. So I made sure to try and do at least 1 or 2 a week, just to show my support, obviously to the club, because I've been there for 15 years.
I think the instructor. It's nice for the instructor to see the higher belts come on as well, because I know as an instructor myself, you're there, and you tend to get a lot of the kids come on. You get a lot of the youngsters on because their parents have sort of said, "Come on, it's your TaeKwonDo time," and a lot of the sort of teenagers are a bit like, "Oh, I can't be bothered with that. Can't be asked to do a Zoom. I'll just wait till we get back to normal." And subsequently, a lot of them never came back, because they were in those teen years, and once they've lost that momentum of training and being in the club, and there's a lot stopped. And I think it's not just me. I think that's across the board. I think.
Yeah. So it was tough, and then I went to university, and it was even tougher again because I didn't really have the room to go on Zoom calls because I was in student accommodation. It's not like the biggest rooms, it's a bit more like a jail cell.
Yeah.
Somewhere to put my clothes, that was it. So it was tough then, and I was just going to the gym because obviously that opened back up. I was just going to the gym every day, and I ended up going heavyweight then. I was 86 kilograms.
Right.
So in basically a span of 2 years, I put on about 13 kilograms over COVID. And then obviously we had the restrictions lifted slightly. Yeah. So I was able to go and actually train again. And it was so much better. And it really gave me the buzz for it again. I was like, back doing it. Then the Scottish Championships, they obviously went ahead, and I went up to Scotland for the weekend and fought in the heavyweight category because they didn't have a light heavyweight category. So I ended up getting gold there, and that really, was making me happy on there. I'm like, I remember why I loved it so much.
Yeah, give you a nice boost after the COVID,
after everything, and then Arnold event came along, and obviously Wales ended up winning it, and that was such a big thing because we got such a talented team, with Kieran Griffin, Dylan, Ben, Mike, Cameron, Lewis. We've got a very strong team, and for us to win, I think we were looking at it, and the last time Wales actually won gold was almost 30 years ago.
Right. Okay. So it's a big deal, isn't it?
It was.
Yeah, I hope you got some. I hope you got some photographs of Kenny Walton's face as you were winning.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment. Yeah. You're trying to keep in the good books, aren't you?
Yeah, I do want to be on the British team eventually.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think all the the Scottish team have been really strong as well, haven't they? They've really got a strong team.
You know, with there's the people that have really stuck to it as well, like the juniors. I loved watching the juniors. You just see the talent that's coming from all of the nations, you know, and it was really good to see. So,
how was your timing? How did you find your? Because I mean, that's the one thing that you can train at home, can't you? But until you're actually competing, until you're actually sparring, you know,
it's when you're in the scenario to actually use it.
Yeah.
So I felt my timing was good. It was kind of the reason I decided to go up to Scotland, because I was sort of like, you know, I can brush off some cobwebs, you know, and see how I get on. And I realized my timing was looking really good up in Scotland. So I just continued work on that. I just continued drilling things. I was coming home from university on weekends to go to squad training because of the competition. Like, obviously, I've spoken to Master Peros and said, you know, I'm not going to be able to come home every weekend because 3-hour train is too expensive.
Yeah, do you not? I take it you don't drive then.
I do drive. It's just I haven't sorted out a parking permit at the university yet, so I haven't taken my car with me.
Right. So if I was Master Peros, I'd be saying, right, Kieran, sort out your parking permit and get that car.
Or you could just go training with the British squad at Loughborough. That's only down the road.
That's what I've ended up saying, because obviously they're training in Hinckley now.
Yes, yeah.
So what I've said to Master Peros is I'm going to come back for at least one, hopefully 2 Welsh squads a month. And I'm also on Saturdays then going to be going down and training at the British squads.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it's only half an hour for me then. So it's not like I'm spending 50 quid here and back.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
we know you students are on a tight budget.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just a poor student, so.
so what's next then, Kieran? What's what's next for you? What's your goals?
Just continue going, continue pushing, and do better at the British than how I done at the Arnold event. You know, and that's all it is. It's just the next competition. That's my next goal.
Sure.
Win the gold at the next one, and just keep doing it. You know. So.
Cool.
So did you So how many fights did you have at the Arnold event? Did you win? And did you win them all?
Yes, so I only had 2 fights. So it was the first fight was against Ireland,
Mm-hmm.
and the second fight was against England in the final, and I won both of my fights. So.
And what weight were you fighting at? Light heavy or heavy?
Light heavyweight. So I dropped down to I'm about 81 kilo when competing. So
you got rid of your COVID belly there. All that COVID belly, all those pizzas and from Uber Eats and Just Eat. Cool. So now you're established. You know, you're an established martial artist. You've been doing it more than most people have been doing martial arts, you know, throughout your life. Who would you say, when you've been competing, has been one of your hardest competitors? Who's your nemesis? Who's that person that, you know, when you come up against them, you always think, "Oh God, here we go again." Have you not had that yet?
So when I was a junior, I had quite a few, because there was a good group of us,
Mm-hmm.
The Black Belt boys and cadets as well, and we all sort of grew up through it together.
Yeah.
So I'd say, you know, one of my toughest fights ever was Dylan Mill.
Yeah. Okay.
Who's now on the Welsh team with me. He's our welterweight, so he's sort of gone from, you know, being like my number one fight. So, he's my mate now, and we're training partners.
And now you can kick him about because you're heavier than him. Yeah. Well, that's the advantage of being a bit heavier, isn't it? Then when those lightweights and welterweights hit you, it's like flies just squatting around you.
Yeah, it really does. And but it's nice to be able to train, and we're able to push each other now, but we're not pushing each other to beat each other. We're pushing each other to help each other get better.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
And, training with him, that's definitely, we both getting a lot better for doing it. And just make sure training more with the team and everybody else is how you get better. And it's,
It is, no, most definitely. You need people. To improve, you need good people around you, don't you? If you're going to improve, you've got to train with the best. You've got to work with the best. You've got to try and beat the best all the time.
Yeah. So now, obviously, in light heavyweight, I've got Matt Clark, who's obviously one of the best fighters in the TAGB. So, and part of me likes the fact that I've got that challenge, So I am really looking forward to, continuing fighting and seeing how it goes and how much better I can get, how much better he'll get.
Sure. Yeah, spot on. So as the motivated martial artist then, Kieran, what I want to know is what motivates you?
So what motivates me now is my competitiveness, 100%. And and it's not my competitiveness necessarily with other people. It's my competitiveness for myself. It's like they say, your greatest battle is with yourself. I'm sort of like, I want to be better than me. Every single time I want to constantly be like progressing with everything I do. So it's like if I win a fight 10-5, next time I want to win 10-4, then 10-3, 10-2, 10-1, 10-0. I want to constantly be improving, and I feel like that's what my motivation really is. Like
continuous improvement.
Yeah, just continuously getting better and better.
Yeah, and do you apply that not just to your martial arts, but to your whole life? You're studying at uni now. You're studying business and law. So is that obviously you're obviously quite intelligent. So do you apply that same methodology of continual improvement?
Yeah, 100%. It's I don't want to be caught slacking. So I just want to constantly do better than I've done last time. It's like if I have a seminar in university, and then I'm like, right, if I got one thing wrong last week, I'm getting nothing wrong this week. I got to be getting things right and just constantly wanting to get better. It's the same with the gym. It's like, I managed to do 10 reps of this weight. Next week, I want to do 10 reps at 2 kilograms heavier, 5 kilograms. Just constantly progress.
Well, I suppose as being a student, it could be I've jumped 2 pints on the Tuesday. Next week, I'm going to make sure I drink 3 pints, right?
Exactly.
Especially in Nottingham.
100%.
Okay, so last question then, Kieran. We normally ask our guests what you would say to a younger you, but obviously you're still a youngster. So I suppose for the last question, what advice would you give to a youngster, who was in a similar position to you, maybe sort of 2, 3, 4 years ago, wants to do what you've done, wants to get in either the England team or the Welsh team or the Scottish team, you've only just really trodden that path. So, what advice would you give to them, someone listening to this podcast?
I would tell them stick to it. Don't stop, train hard, and just keep going, and you'll get there eventually. It's just don't give up. That's what it is. Don't ever give up.
That's perseverance.
You'll beat yourself up for that.
One of the 5 tenets is perseverance, right? So
exactly. And I think it's really important that you persevere through everything.
Yeah. And I think it's nice to hear that from a youngster who is obviously in their prime, who's you just got to that point where you're really starting to make some really good progress. And I'm sure over the next sort of 5 to 10 years, we're going to hear your name a lot and see a lot of photographs of you with those
hook kicks.
high section hook kicks that look pretty deadly. I'm glad I'm not fighting you.
Yeah, to be fair, likewise. Kieran, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you this evening, mate. I love watching you fight, and like I say, when I gave you that disqualification, I did generally think you were the better fighter and was well up and winning. If you had a bit more stamina, you'd have been fine. Obviously, you've come back much stronger from that, and that's really refreshing to see. So keep going, and I look forward to reffing you and hopefully raising your hand in the future.
Yes, thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Keiren. Thanks for coming on
Thank you very
tonight.
much, Kieran.
Thank you.
I hope you all enjoyed this week's episode of the Motivated Martial Artist podcast. Don't forget to check out our Facebook page and our Facebook group, the Motivated Martial Artist podcast.
And don't forget also the Motivated Martial Artist Instagram page.
So head along for some extra content, interviews and much more.
So until next week, it's bye from Jackson
And Gavin,
the Motivated Martial Artists.